All right. So we're talking about the far future of space travel. And then when I say far, it's like thousands of years. All right. So the overview, first we're gonna, oh wait, this is out of order because I changed it. Give me a second. Doot, doot, doot. Oh my God, that's so annoying. Okay. There we go. Now we're ready. Just ignore the terrible formatting. So we're gonna have engines. Then we're gonna talk about the actual spacecraft. Then we'll talk about aliens because who doesn't want to talk about aliens? And then we're gonna talk about some of the purposes of space travel at this technological level. So, we have a question in chat. Fermi paradox. We're not going to be talking about the Fermi paradox, but we will be talking about other things about aliens. Because I've already covered the Fermi paradox in other classes. All right, so let's talk about some engines that might be used for these like for space travel that might be going interstellar. We'll say that. So the ion thruster is currently being used by NASA in like the Voyager probes, but the ion thruster because it can be improved pretty easily, right? So it would we're hypothetically speaking, we're talking about ion thrusters that are orders of magnitude better than the current ones we use. And but this is the way current modern ion thrusters work. They're a little bit different from chemical thrusters, which is what would be used on like a Saturn V or just any rocket you're familiar with, where it just has a chemical reaction and a little bit of fire, like a spark, and then it's just massive amounts of mass getting ejected from the bottom of the rocket. This has small, very, 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 very small amounts of mass getting ejected at very high speeds. So it is going to offer less thrust because it's not as powerful, but it can be sustained for longer and can thus offer more acceleration overall because it's very efficient. So this is why you see it on like the Voyager probes, but not Saturn V, because it doesn't have enough thrust to escape Earth's atmosphere, but it is super efficient, so it's useful for those long haul trips. So let's talk about how it works. Before I get into that, let's check the question. When was an ion thruster and Kurzgesagt? Okay, anyway. So what an ion thruster is that it has this propellant is shot into the chamber of the thruster, and then an electron gun shoots electrons at these neutral atoms. What happens then is that the neutral atoms are turned into ions, positive ions, because the electron destabilizes an orbital, and thus the atom would then lose 2 electrons, becoming positively charged. You don't need to fully understand what I just said. Just know that the electrons are shot at the atoms, and the atoms are turned into positive ions. Okay, and that what an ion is just a charged particle. So these now positive ions are attracted to this screen at the back of the thruster, and then accelerated to very high speeds, and then just thrown out the back of the thruster, and then neutralized by another electron gun, because if they weren't neutralized, the thrust wouldn't work. But so just what happens is that the electron gun makes them positive ions. They are attracted to the back of the thruster and just shot out at super high speeds, and then they're neutralized before. So then they are back to being neutral atoms. Why this is super effective is that despite the like you're shooting out like individual atoms out of the back of the thruster, they're at approaching like the speed of light or like just very high speeds. So not a lot of mass, but super high speeds compared to what a chemical thruster would be, which is a lot of mass, but relatively slow. So, so what the ion, so then, yeah, sorry, I was just reading chat for a second. So then, yes, we would eventually see advancements in this technology that would allow them to offer higher thrusts, because what you see in a lot of science fiction is ships powered by ion thrusters or similar thrusters. So you would imagine advancements in ion thruster technology would drive a lot of space travel. All right, then let's talk about wormholes. I'm sure you're almost all familiar with wormholes. So if this is a pretty good demonstration. So imagine if this grid was laid out flat, the distance between these points would be pretty far apart. However, a wormhole is going to take this flat grid. Imagine this grid is space-time, and then it bends it. So then if I had a planet here on my wrist and another planet on my fingertips, I could bend space-time and then have a wormhole go through my fingertips and connect it to my wrist. It's like an example with paper and a pencil, but I don't have those available with me. So it's essentially like a skip in space-time, where it connects 2 points that are super far apart, but and essentially making them right next to each other. So what that would be used, I think you can imagine how that'd be useful, connecting to planets that are light years away, just with a. Is there a question?
Not really a question, but there is a comment.
Okay.
Let's say you wanted to go to some 100 light years away, and you're like, okay, that's easy, just go to light speed, and then it will only take 100 years. What is the fast way to do that? Is this?
Yup. So yeah, so if you even if it took like 100 years to get there, which is pretty short time, this would be even faster, because it would just you wouldn't even have to travel that entire distance. It would just you would go from here to there just by taking a shortcut through space-time. And then little trivia is that the Bifrost in Thor, the first Thor movie, is where the Bifrost is like a rainbow bridge connecting Asgard to Midgard, which is Earth. They're like, oh, it's an Einstein-Rosen bridge, which is just a wormhole. So it's kind of like, oh wow, that's kind of silly. But. All right.
You're trying to make it fancy.
What? Okay, so the Alcubierre Drive it's a little complex. I hope I do justice in explaining it. Yeah, so this is pretty complicated. Okay, so the way an Alcubierre Drive works is that it would, instead of making you travel through space, like instead of so when I walk to my door, I am traveling through space. What an Alcubierre Drive does is make space travel around you. So what it does is it contracts space in front of you and expands space behind you. And we're talking about literally like the fabric of space-time here. So if you think of space-time as a flat plane and gravity as something that is just like a marble on fabric, which is drawing the space-time down, and that's why you're attracted to things, because as you're traveling along the flat plane, you curve towards the hole. If you think of space-time as the flat, like a fabric of existence, the Alcubierre Drive is bunching it up in front of you and pulling it apart behind you. And so that makes it so you can travel through space. Well, space travels around you faster than the speed of light, theoretically. Because you're not moving the speed of light. You're just, space is changing around you so that you, from an outside observer, are traveling faster than the speed of light, but you individually actually are not traveling the speed of light. So it's kind of like you could say it's a loophole in physics. However, there's a problem, because this Alcubierre drive that would be able to make you travel through space faster than light, it requires like the mass of the known universe to work, as well as negative mass. So not only do you need negative mass, which is something that does not exist, there's no such thing as negative mass, you would also need all of the mass in the known universe and then some to power this engine. Though there are some physicists that have kind of solved the problem a little bit, saying that, oh, you actually only need a couple of milligrams of negative mass, and you only need the mass of Jupiter to make the Alcubierre drive work. That's still impossible. So it still doesn't work, but we're getting there to maybe this.
How do you even get negative mass? You owe the universe mass?
Yeah, exactly. Negative mass doesn't exist. So as far as we are aware. So a couple problems with this, but it's a cool idea. In that you can travel faster than the speed of light by not actually traveling. It's things contort around you. All right. So hopefully that made sense. Then there is field propulsion. The only image I could find for this was like a Facebook meme, so that's why there's just a generic spaceship here. So field propulsion is something that does not work at all in our current understanding of physics, not even like theoretically. Like the Alcubierre drive theoretically could happen, right? If somehow we found negative mass, and somehow you got the entire mass of Jupiter, you could theoretically engineer something to have this work. Field propulsion, no, it just doesn't work at all, not even like mathematically. However, we'll talk about it because maybe one of you guys in the future can prove it that it can work. I don't know. It's also just kind of interesting. So field propulsion, the idea is that you interact with fields outside the spacecraft that could be like gravitational fields or electromagnetic fields to accelerate the ship. So the ship itself would require no fuel at all. It would simply interact with energy fields outside of the ship, which would then exert a force on the ship and then driving it forwards to hypothetical like speeds very fast. So that could maybe no, but maybe, who knows? Probably not, but
That could work, then that'd be less expensive.
yeah. All right. So let's talk about the actual spacecraft of it all, right? So so this is also thinking because if we had an Alcubierre drive, it would just be like taking a taxi from Earth to Proxima Centauri, because it would be, you could go faster than light, right? So we're ignoring the Alcubierre drive here. Imagine that we can just like use ion thrusters here, and we're ignoring wormholes too. We're just thinking like ion thrusters. So the first idea would be a generation ships, which would to work would require. So the idea of a generation ship is that you have like whole generations of people living and dying on the ship as it travels to some other world. And then that population that is living on the ship would then be able to establish the colony that is on the world. So this would require a sufficiently large population, because inbreeding would happen very fast if you did not have a sufficiently large population with genetic diversity. So the estimates of how many people you'd need on the ship would be roughly like 1,500 to 2,000, maybe 1,000 to 2,000. And that actually is enough genetic diversity to prevent inbreeding if none of the people are from Alabama. So
Inbreeding mean?
oh yeah, inbreeding is like having children with your family members. So not good, because that's how you get, there's a lot of diseases that are come from inbreeding, because it's really bad to do. Don't do it. Not that you needed the warning. Oh, Richard, I was just making a joke. I said if none of the people are from Alabama. All right, so yeah, so about 1,000 to 2,000 people.
Years for a spaceship to get somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it could if you can't.
15,000 people, and then you just marry and then get kids so you can all survive.
Yeah, it would be pretty it would be pretty hard to like actually get this going. So I think
You would need a huge ship.
you would need a huge ship.
And a huge graveyard.
I mean, you could always eject them into space, or you could cremate them, or
Seriously, dunk them into space? That's creating space junk.
who knows? All right, so yeah, you would need a sufficiently large population of about 1,500 people.
And you need people to like willing to do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm getting into. So not only would
your parents and your friend, you can't have your parents, your children, your brother, your sisters. You need diversity, so it would be hard to split up with them unless all of them already die, or something like that.
yeah, yeah. So it would be, that's why you need enough people to prevent all that. So a big problem is that you would need people to actually get on this and commit their entire lives to it. And then also there's an ethical problem of like whether there are children, or because like imagine like you're born onto this generation ship and your entire life is just spent on this little confined space, not being and you hear stories of Earth and how magical it was, and it's like, yeah, you're just gonna live and die on this ship because we're not gonna reach the planet in time. That's pretty dark, all right? And that's kind of a ethical question of is that really a moral thing to do? And then also, so some ideas to maybe skirt around that would be like frozen eggs or cryo sleep, so that the frozen eggs would be like freezing human eggs, so then that eventually you wouldn't have to have children on the ship. You could just freeze the eggs and then fertilize them on the planet once you land. Or there's also cryo sleep, which would be like you're in stasis
sleeping for a long time. I've seen like sci-fi movies.
Yeah, it's a big sci-fi thing, cryo sleep. So it's very popular in the spacefaring science fiction world. So you would just kind of like be in stasis and you wouldn't die because something would keep you alive or whatever, and you would be able to reach there, and then you would just wake back up and everything would be fine and dandy. Then there's also a question of like sustainability. So you would need to sustain quite a large population with food and water and all that, where you're going to get those resources from, because you're traveling through the void of space. Kind of a problematic, so to speak. And then also there's like once you land, there's some problems as well. Absolute zero would probably just kill you because there's no atomic movement at all. All right, let's get into the actual colonies of it now. So if we had the colony ships, that or not colony, the generation ships, or maybe we had like an Alcubierre Drive, something to get to the exoplanet, which is just a planet that's not Earth. Well, an exoplanet is a planet that's not in our solar system. So once the colony, like you have to determine where to put the colony, right? What exoplanet is it going to be on? So you'd have to do like geological surveys on this planet to make sure that, oh, it is like useful for human life. Because not only does it need to be in the habitable zone of its star, it also needs to have like it needs to have plate tectonics, or it needs to have water. It needs to have usable minerals for humans before we can actually say, yeah, this is a good place for our colony. So it would be you would not only need to have everybody get on the generation ship or to get to the place, then you would also need to have a research something, go to the place and then come back, report, and then or send the report back, and then you can go, which is wasting a lot of time. All right, then also what about the in situ resources, which is just remember on-site resources. Again, like maybe there's no oil or there's no coal, which are both plant-based, by the way.
There's no water
Yeah, exactly, or there's no water. And so
or no
it,
air.
yeah, where there's a lack of an atmosphere. And so some of these things that are almost required for human activity. Then the industrial capacity of the colony, like how are we going to ship all these like factories to sustain the production of the colony so it can be self-sustaining over with it? Are they going to build it there? What's going to happen with that? Then also agriculture. Agriculture is amazingly hard to have work because you need the right assortment of minerals, you need the right insects for pollination, you need the right soil, you need the right weather, the right climate, and we don't entirely know how much that's going to work. So it's, yeah, so it's a pretty big problem. Say that again. You're a little quiet.
For Venus, a day is more than a year.
Yeah. We also need to worry about like what the temporal schedule is. Like, what's the rotation of the planet like? How often does it orbit its star? You know, stuff like that, where it's pretty necessary for human habitation. So TRAPPIST will also, Justin, I see you're putting like exoplanets in chat. TRAPPIST-1 is really cool. You should look into that further. Let me put that in chat for some people that might want to be interested. That's a
Wait, what's in TRAPPIST-1?
There's just an exoplanet that's like in that habitable zone. And there's some cool art about it. The star it orbits is a red dwarf, I believe, and it's just some of the art's really cool.
Is there water there?
I don't think we have the good enough telescopes for that. So, all right, the thing you've all been waiting for.
Aliens.
Yup.
Yay!
So There's
So
some
I-
interesting stock images I took, by the way. Mike Wazowski and this one like dancing little alien guy. I don't know. I thought it was kind of cute, but I don't know why Mike Wazowski's here. All right, so there's two classifications of aliens that we would probably say are the important classifications. So there's pre-sapient and sapient aliens. So sapient would just be like human, not human, sorry. It'd just be like intelligent, like humans are sapient. It's just a marker of intelligence. So with pre-sapient aliens, we would need to deal with like potentially contaminating their world with human bacteria, because humans are notorious for bringing all kinds of diseases everywhere we go.
the British people were going to the New World and they brought over like lots of diseases, like to the Native Americans.
Yeah.
Like like cowpox and stuff like that.
Yep. So the Europeans brought over an assortment of diseases to the New World, which is like North America, South America, and killed 90% of the Native American population, which amounts to, I believe, like 47 million people or something. So one of the largest mass deaths ever in human history. And so we would need to worry about contaminating alien like life. So then there's also a question of biological compatibility, because Earth has generally, like, any biological organism on Earth can more or less interact with any other biological organism in some way. We can interact, but that's because we've all been on Earth, so we have to share some original common ancestor that had a certain biological structure to it. On an alien planet, that might be a completely different biological structure than what Earth is familiar with. So it could be like bacteria. We could bacteria on what the equivalent of a single-celled organism on a alien planet, if they even have cells. I imagine they would, if they're, or a cellular equivalent, that you could you could just like wade through a sea of it and it just wouldn't hurt you at all. It'd be like it would hurt you about as much as wading through water. You could you might not be able to digest the any food that would be potentially grown on that planet, because the enzymes in your stomach might just not know how it works, and you couldn't break it down or derive nutrients from it. It just completely has a different biology from us. So it would be, the aliens would just be unrecognizable to what humans are looking like. So they might not even be carbon based for all we know. They could theoretically be silicon based. The validity of that, though, is questionable, but I won't get into silicon based life forms. Just know that maybe it could happen. So yeah, biological compatibility is a huge thing with yeah, Viking. Did you have Viking?
So if there's aliens outside, that means that we are aliens because they will call us alien.
That's true. Yeah, we would be the aliens to that.
To us, they're aliens. To them, we're aliens.
Exactly.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Exactly. Then there's also a question of if we have the technology of uplifting the pre-sapient species, as it would be called, which would be like somehow biologically bringing them to sapience. Would that be ethical or not? You know, the scientific validity of that is highly questionable. If pretty much it's impossible, but like maybe. All right. Then sapient. I just love this picture. It's just like he's so cute. Okay. Anyway, the sapient alien. So so the sapient aliens would be like intelligent life. Let's check. Justin, you're just still on your exoplanet.
They're all
vision.
habitable.
Well, they're all in the habitable zones of their respective stars. We don't know if they're
Are
habitable.
we aliens to Earth?
Say that again.
Are we aliens to Earth?
Are we aliens to Earth? No, we are not. Yeah, we're not that much aliens, unfortunately.
Because we might have evolved.
Well, I mean, because we've been on Earth, the life has been on Earth for 4 billion years, or 3.5 billion years. So
Same as aliens.
Wait, what happens if humans evolve?
we are constantly evolving at all times. So evolution is just like a continuous process of selection, sexual selection, as to that selects for fitness, whatever that might be in a population. It's not like, oh, we're gonna evolve tomorrow. Are you gonna join our evolution party, Jim? Like, no. All right. So let's talk about sapient aliens. We got a little off track there. I'm not sure where. So, probably the first thing we would have to worry about is diplomacy, right? I feel like humans are not known for their peaceful ways, let's just say. And from there, we'd also have to take into account like their level of development. Are they in the human equivalent of the Stone Age and the Iron Age, the Bronze Age, the Industrial Revolution, the Digital Age, what we're in now? You know, it just
Or are
a
they in the
variety of factors. What was that?
They could be in the UFO age.
They could be in the space age, yeah, the interstellar age. I don't know what you would call that. Then you'd also have to take into account their societal organization. Is it maybe a hive mind potentially, or it could be like ants, where it's a bunch of drones and then one queen, or like bees, for example. That'd be like similar. Or would it be what do they have a sense of nationality like humans do? Do they have a sense of self, or is it just kind of consciousness? You know, there's a lot of factors that would have to be taken into account when talking about sapient species that's beyond Earth. Then also their biological needs. Do they what is their biology like? What are do they need a certain food? Do they need a sleep? So just there's a ton of factors that when you first think of aliens, you don't really consider all that much. So it's just interesting to think about, what would a hypothetical alien species, if it had an intelligent one, what would it look like? And the best, Kepler 442b. Why is that one the best, Justin?
Rocky surface, has water, like Earth, has atmosphere.
Nice, nice. All right, then let's talk about communication. I just thought this was a funny picture. It's like it's an octopus in space. How wacky is that? All right.
Edited.
It's Wacky Wednesday, although today is not Wednesday.
Also, yes, I know it's edited, but it's still funny.
It's an edited alien. For those who like eating octopuses, go eat that alien.
All right. Yeah. So then there's also communication with the aliens. How are we going to talk to them? Right? If they don't share our biology.
Using a special microphone that translates things.
But then how do we invent the microphone that translates it for us?
because we
We
are smart, we do
know
it.
what their language is. How do we
The
invent it?
microphone has to know the languages.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Search it
so
up. Google.
I'm sure Google in 2,000 years is just kind of a plethora of alien languages, you know? All right, so the not only could their language differences be like enough to where like humans like there's the difference between English and like Arabic. People figured it out. There's now translators between English and Arabic. It's doable if the language is different, right? Even if the language is made through a series of like snapping your fingers, like or jazz hands. It's like you can figure it out. But there's still like their idea of consciousness might be different than ours. So the way they think might be completely different to the way humans think. And that intellectual incompatibility would cause a lot of problems if we wanted to talk to them, right? Because whenever you talk,
Maybe they sleep for a whole year and then come back and then sleep for another whole year.
yeah, maybe.
Maybe they can't see. Maybe they can't talk. Maybe they can
We
die.
use the power of friendship and love, and everything will be all right.
Yeah, so there could be just
I don't think that's how it works.
maybe. Yeah, I think you're onto something there.
War. Like the aliens and we go pew 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 UFO war. Bam bam.
Yeah, so the
Hey, what if there's a king and then decides to take you hostile and they like to eat humans too? You know?
humans are generally pretty good at killing things.
You kill him with kindness.
All right, let's there's a couple more slides, guys. I believe in you. You can get through it. So when we talk as humans, we have underlying assumptions of how the other person experiences the world because we know they're human. And so we know they have the five senses normally. We know that they probably have an inner monologue. They think like you do. But what if they didn't think like you? What if they did not they didn't have weren't at all similar to you in almost any way besides the fact that they were considered an intelligent species?
We're all into aliens, right? But then what if there are no aliens? And we don't have to deal with this.
Yeah, what if there are no aliens? Then also there's a communication structures, like how would they talk? We have the vocal cords and our mouths and tongues and teeth that all help us make the sounds that I am making right now to communicate these ideas to you. But what if they communicated through an assortment of colors? They didn't really have a strict language. They more communicated feelings, or they communicated any number of things. But they didn't. The way they communicated was not. It's not a language in the standard way we think of one.
What if they communicate using their mind?
Yeah, it could be telepathic. All right. So let's talk about. So I just have two slides here, really quick, just so audience engagement, we'll say. So about discussing what our interstellar dominion would look like, given different purposes for it. So I should have put an animation on this. Whoops, I kind of messed up there. So what if it was an economic purpose? What might our reason for expansion was economic in nature? How might that shape our expansion into space? Somebody shoot out some ideas.
What is in the picture?
It's a mining drone from a very popular.
What's that in the picture?
What? I just said.
Oh, I was washing my hands.
It is a mining drone in a popular online game.
Wait, how does that mine?
Wait,
Tell
complete
me.
sentence. Known as.
Okay, so do we want to answer the question I put out to all of you?
What was the question?
So if the nature of our expansion into space was primarily economic, how would that kind of shape the way we approached our interstellar dominion?
What's a dominion?
How would it shape how we explored and settled space if it was if our reason for expansion was primarily economic?
I don't know.
I just want to hear 2 ideas in total.
I have an idea. Nothing.
You say it wouldn't shape it at all. Okay, let's see if chat has an idea. We have an idea. We wouldn't care about safety of humans, maybe, because all we care about is money. That's a good idea. That maybe, who knows? Jonathan says changes the ethics of it. That's okay. Here are some of my ideas. So I would say it's probably going to be a lot of investment in drone technology and robots because humans are very expensive and they require a lot of life support systems. So if we just use robots and drones, all of a sudden that need goes away. Then I just would say there's probably it would be more exploitation focused. We wouldn't really try to care about how livable the worlds are. We wouldn't really care about the water or anything. All we would care, or sustainability, we would just kind of, there's so many worlds in the galaxy, we would just kind of focus on making exploiting the worlds to all our resource needs as fast as possible rather than stuff like that. Justin, I think that was a pretty good list. Yeah, there's quite a few super cool exoplanets, but like TRAPPIST and Kepler 442b, I think you were saying. Yeah, that seems pretty cool. Yeah, the reason there's a lot of Keplers is because Kepler's laws, like Kepler, famous astronomer. All right, then further on, there's company towns were a thing that happened in America in like the late 1800s, where the people living in the town worked for the company that ran the town, and they would be paid in what would be called company scrip. So you would be paid, let's say, 10 scrip a day, and then the company also runs the grocery store, and the company also runs the utilities. And now your water bill every month, maybe that costs 100 scrip. Maybe the groceries cost 5 scrip. They can change the weight, and so that is super exploitative. It's a very bad thing to do because the company has entire control over the way you live your life entirely. There is a Kahoot, Apollo.
Everyone put their names as LOL.
I imagine that if it was primarily economic in nature and it was mostly private companies doing it, there could be entire company worlds where one company rules over the entire planet. Then also, what's the balance between a private and public relationship here? If the driver is economic, is the government taking a leading role in this? Is it mostly funded by private companies trying to expand it? What would the government look like? It's just food for thought. Then the last slide, guys. This picture is from the Warhammer 40K. It's kind of like a science fantasy thing. Oh wait. Okay. Oh my God. No. Okay, there we go. All right. So what are some ideas for
I just see like your right
no,
click.
no,
This
no, no,
is
you didn't see it. You didn't see it. You didn't see it. What are some people's ideas for if it was primarily like imperial in nature?
There's this king that ruled over the planet.
Maybe, yeah, it could be a return of monarchy because you have to rule over an entire planet. You gotta have a iron fist to rule effectively, maybe. Who
just
knows?
then you're gonna be assassinated like a few seconds later.
A lot of political instability. Okay, maybe. So my ideas, another thing, circling back to government structure, is it going to be a democracy? Because how do you effectively rule an entire planet or a series of planets? Is it gonna be the first galactic empire, or is it gonna be the Galactic Republic, like in both from Star Wars, if you can tell? From there. So how do you effectively rule several planets or even an entire planet at that? Here we as a species are still trying to figure out how to rule an entire individual country. So I don't see the planetary unification on the horizon. So then also there's how does the planet relate to the what's the relationship with the capital like? Is it going to be more hands off because it's light years away from the capital, so it's almost impossible to get to? Or is it going to be pretty closely has a pretty close relationship with a lot of interconnectivity? How are those individual planets going to develop over time? As given tens of thousands, millions of years, are the humans going to look a human from Earth and a human from TRAPPIST-1? Are they going to look similar at all? Are they're gonna probably? I mean, are there going to be similar evolutionary pressures? You never know, and they'll probably develop their own culture and all that.
Has anyone read a book called Dark the World with Golden Eyes? It basically talks about these humans that moved to Mars and they suddenly turn like really different.
Ooh, that sounds interesting. Yeah. Then the final point I have is migration. Pretty small point compared to a lot of the rest of the stuff, but the idea is migration. How is migration handled between the worlds? If it takes if we're going with ion thrusters and generation ships, probably not going to be a lot of migration or interconnectivity. So how does that foster relationships politically and all that? Or is it going to be a lot of migration between the planets because we're all this kind of idea of a unified interstellar government? All right, that is everything. Are you guys happy that it's almost over?
LOL, Armory will rise during Kahoot.
All right. Oh, come on.
If you don't know what we're talking about, you'll find out soon.
I am sure I will. All right, this is more of a lax Kahoot, one could say. It's more of a fun Kahoot than more relating to the today's class. There's a couple questions related. I'll say that much. It sounds like, okay, beatbox, this sounds like somebody's farting into the microphone, so we're gonna change it. I'm gonna start around 7:54. So 30 seconds, guys. Andale.
No, start at 7:55.
Okay, we'll start at 7:55.
Don't let me join.
Ooh, I don't know what's wrong with it.
Try to put hello, but it doesn't work.
Try restarting your browser.
No.
All right. Tell. I guess. Tell me if you're still having problems.
I still have a problem.
All right. Just try. Yeah. Just try
LOL,
restarting.
Armory rises.
How many alternate tabs do you guys have?
I have two. One is
I don't
cheeseburgers.
know. I don't
and
maybe
one
have
is
30. You
cheese.
know, I would probably have 30.
All right. I'm gonna get started at 7:50, 7:55 in 30 seconds. Just hopefully you can resolve the tech problem in that time period.
I just have 3 more tabs.
Interesting. Well, we'll see who the which of the LOL army people.
Doesn't matter. Last time we had mostly LOLs on the leaderboard.
Very nice. All right, I'm gonna get started. So.
I don't know. What did this chemical tester do again?
I forgot.
This came up in the very beginning of the presentation.
I know what the answer is. I told my mistake.
Wait. Oh no, I'm so sorry, guys. Oh my god. Oh my.
Did you get it
Oh
wrong?
wait. Never mind. I'm right.
I got it right.
Yeah. Oh, I had a heart attack. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is right. Chemical
Oh, else
thrusters.
just watch the leaderboard grow and grow and grow.
Yeah. Okay. Chemical thrusters are have higher thrusts. Oh. Okay. Yes. This question is right. Oh. Okay. Yeah. I thought I screwed up really bad right there. Yeah. So, chemical thrusters do have a higher thrust than ion thrusters. That's why you see chemical thrusters used on those big rockets to escape Earth's gravity. Ion thrusters are overall more efficient in like 0G, but chemical thrusters are better because they have a higher thrust to actually escape Earth's gravity. So yeah.
It's laggy.
I can't see the problem.
Now I can see.
The question is, what is the requirement of an Alcubierre drive? And the answers, I'm not going to have time to read out the answers. Just click one if you're having problems still.
Negative pressure, blue, and
Yep, nice job, guys. It's negative mass. Hopefully all the reds are because your website was glitching out. So negative force just kind of, I mean, yeah, I guess it exists because it's a vector, but that's not a
I want to see the
requirement of
leaderboard. I think
Alcubierre
all the
drive.
LOLs went down.
So,
Well, all 5 of them. Now they're all gone.
dang, RIP.
let's go to the file.
Nice. Yeah. So field propulsion would require something akin to a what's it called?
Place not bad.
Oh my goodness. Perpetual motion machine. So yeah, it doesn't really work. So yeah. Field propulsion doesn't work, even theoretically, not really. So yeah. Ooh, Jonathan coming up in second, defeating the LOL army single-handedly.
Let's go. Just right on time.
Nice job, guys. That was really good. Yup, sapient.
Oh, elbows revised.
Sentient is similar, but it's slightly less intelligent than sapient. So
Yes.
Jonathan.
LOL.
holding out strong. Nice, nice.
I don't know what this is.
I did mention this in class, so let's see how many people were paying attention.
No, I'm gonna Google it.
Good luck. 7 seconds.
I remember it.
Nice.
What is it?
nice.
Just tell me.
No. Nice job, everybody.
Pretty obvious.
Yeah, I guess now we know who's listening and who's not. If 12 out of the 17 people responses got it, then not looking good for the guy
one
that was. Jonathan taking first place from the LOL Army. Let's see how many people are familiar with Star Wars trivia. I did mention this was more of a fun Kahoot.
Did you mention this?
I did not mention this.
Oh, I didn't talk.
This is just stupid.
Only
Nice
you
job.
guessed that right.
Obviously, the
I
high.
swear it was the forward shields.
Oh, I spelled forward wrong. Yeah.
No,
It's the hyperdrive though.
But they literally said the shields were down.
No, they are getting their hyperdrive broke. Otherwise, so they were stranded on Tatooine. That's why they're that's yeah. Okay, that's just what happened. You know. All right, this next question. Let's see. This one's a doozy. Let's just say that.
I've never even watched Star
I
Trek.
need to ask my dad something. Yeah, it's definitely not Anakin
There are
Skywalker.
two of the if you know anything about Star Trek at all, you would narrow it down to a 50% chance here.
That was the
Yeah, it's
answer.
definitely Anakin Skywalker, like everyone knows.
Everybody knows this commander.
Ooh, nice job, Captain Kirk is correct.
Anakin Skywalker.
How did I write 2 Star Wars problems I totally did not know in a row?
Unfortunate.
I'm a master guesser.
Yeah, so Commander Shepard is just from the Mass Effect franchise, which is a video game. So, all right, Jonathan holding out strong with a comfortable lead. Let's see if he can know his trivia about certain movies.
Flies. It's obviously a fly.
Ooh, you guys are not familiar with your B movie memes. So the opening monologue of the B movie is according to all known laws of aviation, bees should not be able to fly. Their fat little bodies, or no, their tiny little wings can support their like fat little bodies to get off the ground or something like that. So yeah, it's
Very weird.
kind of
Someone's gonna get a
disappointed,
Kahoot
guys.
hack very soon.
You're not up to date on your 2000 or late 2000s memes. All right,
Read out loud. Just kidding.
Vivo. You know,
There's still
this is
LOL Army.
some tough
It's go-
questions here.
There's still LOL.
Jonathan
That's all that
with a
matters.
clean lead of one entire question and over 1,000 points. Comes in first, beating out the LOL Army.
No,
Nice
Ellen.
job.
There's still one in. They couldn't beat that one.
Nice job, everybody. I hope that was an acceptable final class for space travel. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and yeah,